On August 20th, 1989, José and Kitty Menendez, a seemingly successful couple and part of Beverly Hills' high society, were found shot to death in their mansion. The discovery shocked the community and sparked an investigation that would become one of the most famous and controversial criminal cases in American history. The main suspects? Their own sons, Lyle and Erik Menendez, seemingly promising young men who were 21 and 18 at the time of the crime, respectively. The revelation that the brothers were the perpetrators of the murders caused shock and bewilderment, transforming the case into a true family drama that captured the attention of the world media. Lyle and Erik Menendez were born into a wealthy family known for their high standard of living in Beverly Hills, California. The brothers were the sons of José and Enrique Menendez, a Cuban immigrant who became a successful executive in the entertainment industry, and Mary Louise "Kitty" Anderson Menendez, a homemaker of American descent. José was described as a controlling and demanding man, while Kitty was a complex woman who struggled with depression and alcohol addiction. The Menendez family enjoyed a life of luxury, with lavish homes, expensive cars, and access to the best educational and social resources. Despite the appearance of perfection, the brothers later claimed that family life was marked by physical, emotional, and especially sexual abuse. The prosecution portrayed the Menendez family as a model of American success. José Menendez was a successful executive in the entertainment industry, and Kitty Menendez was a dedicated homemaker who provided her sons with a life of luxury and comfort. The prosecution argued that the brothers were spoiled and ungrateful, and that the murders were solely motivated by greed and the desire to inherit the family fortune. According to this perspective, the family dynamic was marked by a high standard of living and elevated expectations. The brothers attended elite schools, had access to everything they wanted, and were encouraged to succeed in all areas of their lives. However, the prosecution alleged that this privileged life was not enough to satisfy the brothers' insatiable ambition. The relationship between the brothers and their parents was marked by high expectations, but also by a certain emotional distance. José Menendez was an ambitious and demanding man who expected his sons to succeed in all areas of their lives. This constant pressure may have created a tense and competitive environment in the family. The prosecution suggested that the brothers, despite living comfortably, did not have a close relationship with their parents. This emotional distance may have been the result of José's high expectations and Kitty's limited availability, as she was dedicated to domestic and social tasks. The prosecution argued that the brothers' main motivation for killing their parents was the inheritance. The family's fortune was seen as a means of financial freedom and an opportunity to escape their parents' control. The defense, however, presented a completely different narrative. According to the Menendez brothers, their childhood was marked by years of physical, psychological, and sexual abuse by their father, José Menendez. They claimed that José was a controlling tyrant who exercised absolute dominance over the family, and that their mother, Kitty, was either complicit in the abuse or unable to intervene. The defense argued that the Menendez family's public image of success was just a facade, and that behind the closed doors of the mansion, the brothers lived a true hell. They described a childhood marked by fear, humiliation, and a sense of imprisonment. The brothers alleged that the abuse began when they were very young and intensified over the years, becoming increasingly frequent and violent. Doubts about the Menendez brothers' childhood persist to this day. The lack of physical evidence of abuse, such as medical exams or eyewitnesses, makes it difficult to determine the truth of their claims. Moreover, José Menendez's complex personality, which exhibited traits of both a loving father and a controlling tyrant, further complicates the construction of a clear picture of the family dynamic. In summary, the Menendez brothers' childhood is one of the most controversial aspects of the case. The prosecution's version paints a picture of a wealthy and dysfunctional family, while the defense's version describes a story of abuse and suffering. The truth about what really happened in that Beverly Hills home may never be fully known, leaving the Menendez case as one of the greatest mysteries in American criminal history. On the night of August 20th, 1989, José and Kitty Menendez were brutally shot to death while in the living room of their mansion in Beverly Hills. Lyle and Erik used shotguns to commit the crime, firing multiple times at their parents, leaving them unrecognizable due to the violence of the shots. After the murder, the brothers claimed to have gone out to see a movie and returned to discover their parents' bodies, initially misleading the police. Shortly after their parents' deaths, the brothers exhibited behaviors that raised suspicions, spending large sums of money on trips, extravagant purchases, luxury cars, and properties. This behavior caught the authorities' attention, as the brothers appeared to be openly spending their parents' inheritance without showing grief or remorse. The police began to suspect that the crime may have been motivated by the Menendez family's multi-million-dollar inheritance. In the midst of the growing investigation, Erik Menendez began confessing the crime to the family therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. These therapy sessions were recorded and became a central piece of evidence in the case. Eventually, the recordings came into the hands of the police, and Erik's confession, along with Oziel's testimony, was used as evidence in court. The first trial of the Menendez brothers began in 1993 and attracted extensive media coverage. The testimonies of the witnesses in the Menendez case were crucial in constructing the narratives of both the prosecution and the defense. However, the credibility of these witnesses was intensely debated, and their accounts often contradicted each other, further complicating the task of uncovering the truth about the murders. The defense relied on allegations of abuse, arguing that the brothers acted in psychological self-defense, believing their lives were in imminent danger. Lyle and Erik claimed that after years of abuse, they believed their parents intended to kill them to silence allegations of sexual abuse. The defense called child sexual abuse experts to testify about the psychological effects of abuse and how victims may behave years after experiencing trauma. Some witnesses, such as childhood friends of the brothers, testified, corroborating the accounts of abuse and the suffering the brothers endured in the Menendez family. Human behavior experts were called to analyze the brothers' interviews and offer explanations for their actions and confessions. The jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict, resulting in 2 hung juries. Various friends and acquaintances of the Menendez brothers testified, recounting attitudes and behaviors that, according to the prosecution, indicated the brothers' guilt. Some testified about the brothers' obsession with money and dissatisfaction with their lives. Criminal experts presented material evidence linking the brothers to the crimes, such as traces of blood on Lyle's clothes and car, and the murder weapon, which was found in a lake near the Menendez home. Police officers who responded to the incident and neighbors who heard the gunshots also testified, describing the crime scene and the first moments after the murders. In the second trial, held in 1996, the prosecution's strategy was more aggressive, and the judge limited the evidence of abuse the defense could present. The prosecution argued that the motive for the crime was financial, as the brothers allegedly killed their parents to inherit the family fortune. The defense was hampered by the limitation of abuse allegations, and the second trial focused more on greed and less on the victimization of the brothers. In 1996, Lyle and Erik Menendez were found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The sentence divided public opinion, with many believing the brothers received a fair punishment, while others questioned whether the abuse should have been considered a mitigating factor. The trial of the Menendez brothers was one of the longest and most complex in American legal history. The media followed every detail of the process, turning Lyle and Erik into crime celebrities. The case was marked by an intense legal battle, with the prosecution and defense presenting evidence and witnesses to support their respective versions of the facts. One of the crucial points of the trial was the issue of admitting evidence of alleged sexual abuse. the defense argued that it was essential for the jury to know the history of abuse to understand the brothers' motivation and assess the credibility of their self-defense claims. The prosecution, on the other hand, vehemently contested the admission of this evidence, arguing that it was irrelevant and aimed to manipulate the jury. The Menendez brothers' lives after being sentenced to life in prison are an intriguing and controversial chapter of a story that has already captured the world's attention. Confined in maximum security institutions, Lyle and Erik live a reality completely different from the one they were accustomed to. Initially, the brothers were kept in isolation to ensure their safety and prevent possible retaliation from other inmates. This measure, while necessary, contributed to the worsening of their emotional conditions. Over time, the brothers were gradually integrated into the prison population. However, the case's notoriety and the nature of the crimes they committed made it difficult to build meaningful relationships with other inmates. The routine in prison is marked by strict discipline, work, studies, and limited recreational activities. The Menendez brothers, like any other inmate, have to adapt to this new reality and find ways to occupy their time. Over the years, the Menendez brothers and their lawyers have filed numerous appeals seeking to overturn the conviction and obtain parole. These appeals were based on various strategies, exploring perceived weaknesses in the original trial and seeking new evidence that could support the defense's version. One of the main strategies in the appeals has been the search for new evidence corroborating the allegations of sexual abuse. The brothers' lawyers have presented testimonies from new witnesses, documents, and other materials that, according to them, demonstrate a history of abuse in the Menendez family. The appeals have also pointed to possible errors made during the original trial, such as the exclusion of evidence favorable to the defense or inappropriate conduct by the judge. The shift in public opinion regarding sexual abuse and the growing recognition of its psychological impacts have been used as arguments to request a review of the conviction. Society in general has become more sensitive to abuse cases and more willing to believe victims. The evolution of legislation and case law on sexual abuse and crimes of passion has also been used as an argument in the appeals. New laws and judicial decisions may offer the Menendez brothers the possibility of obtaining a new trial or having their sentences reduced. Despite the lawyers' efforts, the Menendez brothers have yet to present conclusive evidence to prove the sexual abuse allegations and potentially overturn the conviction. Public opinion, influenced by the extensive media coverage of the case, remains divided over the brothers' culpability. This prejudice could make it challenging to obtain an impartial trial in any future case. The laws governing appeal processes are strict and limit the possibilities of reopening a case that has already been judged. The Menendez brothers' appeals have kept the case alive in the media and public opinion. With each new attempt to review the conviction, the case is discussed again, sparking debates on justice, sexual abuse, and the complexity of the legal system. Online petitions and popular movements seek to reopen the case or at least reconsider the sentences, but so far without success. Since the conviction, Lyle and Erik have remained in prison and have received support from activists who believe that the abuse should have been considered a mitigating factor. Both have married while incarcerated and continue to maintain contact with supporters and family members. The Menendez case continues to fascinate the public decades after the crimes were committed. Several books, documentaries, and series have been produced on the subject, exploring different aspects of the story and presenting new perspectives on the events. The recent Netflix production, Monsters, Menendez Brothers, Parent Killers, rekindled public interest in the case and generated new discussions about the brothers' culpability and the justice of the system. One of the most recent twists in the case was the revelation of a letter that, according to the brothers' lawyers, corroborates the sexual abuse allegations by José Menendez. This letter, allegedly written by a family friend, reportedly contains crucial information about the father's abusive behavior. In 2023, Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon recommended reviewing the Menendez brothers' sentences, citing new evidence and a California law that allows sentence reevaluation in similar cases. The authenticity and relevance of the new evidence presented by the brothers' lawyers continue to be questioned. The prosecution argues that this evidence is insufficient to justify a review of the sentences. The Menendez case has influenced the discussion of laws related to sexual abuse, self-defense, and sentence review. The brothers' story serves as an example of the challenges of proving past abuses and the consequences of complex judicial decisions. The future of the Menendez case is uncertain. Although the new evidence and changing public opinion on sexual abuse have opened up the possibility of a sentence review, the legal process is slow and complex. The final decision on the Menendez brothers' future will depend on the evaluation of the new evidence and the interpretation of the law by the courts. The Menendez case is a complex human drama that continues to fascinate and divide public opinion. The pursuit of justice, the complexity of family relationships, and the challenges of the legal system are just a few of the themes explored in this case, which remains relevant and current even decades later. The Menendez case remains one of the most famous cases involving sexual abuse, raising debates about the difficulty of proving past abuses and the psychological consequences for the victims. The case exposes the limitations of the legal system and the challenges of judging complex cases based on often circumstantial evidence and contradictory testimonies. The case demonstrates the media's power to shape public opinion and influence judicial decisions. The intense coverage of the case over the years has contributed to the creation of narratives and stereotypes that persist to this day. Possible outcomes. It is possible that the courts will uphold the Menendez brothers' conviction, considering that the new evidence is insufficient to prove, beyond any reasonable doubt, that the brothers acted in self-defense. Another possibility is the reduction of the brothers' sentences, allowing them to apply for parole after serving part of their time. In a less likely but not impossible scenario, the courts may grant the Menendez brothers a new trial if new evidence is found that could affect the outcome of the original process. Regardless of the final outcome, the Menendez case will continue to be studied and debated for years, serving as a reminder of the complexity of human nature and the challenges of justice.